everybody, and welcome to this edition of HCAM Sports Talk. I'm your host, Tom Nappy. Joining me in just a bit, we'll have Andy Barron and Steve Watson on the show. We will talk some NFL football, the latest Patriots news, plus much more. But first, it was a very busy week for Hopkinton Hiller sports. Here are the latest happenings.
On Tuesday, January 7th, Hiller boys basketball hosted Ashland and got the scoring going early and very often.
Hard on that ankle after making the shot as the Hillers work in the offensive zone. 3 attempt, and it's knocked down by Tori Elstrom Hall.
I mean, I'm trying to keep up with everything going on there. All of a sudden, the Hillers got about 6 or 8 points in a span of a minute. And another steal, looks like.
It's just a rapid pace they're going out there. It's unbelievable. 10 seconds left in the quarter. 3 attempt, Willardson. Yes! Cooper Willardson. Both free throws are good by Steinberg, but a nice response by Gavin Cho.
Wow.
Dedajian for 3. Yes, count it. How about Sam Dedajian? 12 points tonight.
You can't blame them. These kids want to play and play hard.
And they keep getting steals like that. Passes thrown right to them. Up, no good there. Follow through, yes, at the buzzer. Trevor Blinn. What a first half by the Hopkinton Hillers.
Wow.
An offensive display for the record books as the Hillers put up 33 points in the second quarter.
The Hillers had a commanding 55-12 lead at the half and would end up taking the game 93-31, a record-setting night for the Hiller offense. Every available Hiller athlete on the roster got in the scorebook. Jackson Canales dropped 18 points, Sam Dedajian had 16, and James Marcinowski dropped 13 as the Hillers cruised past the Clockers. Hopkinton finished the week with a road loss in Medway and stand at 5-2 on the season. Hiller boys and girls swimming were also in action that Tuesday versus Medfield. The Hiller boys picked up an 82-73 win. The Hiller girls also took the win, 84-47. Both teams are now 1-2 on the season. On Wednesday, January 8th, Hiller boys hockey hosted Holliston Ashland Co-op.
Costa looking to race in. Takes it along the corner. Sends it far side. Going to approach, it's a shot, and it is in! Parker Rivera strikes for the Hillers and makes it 1-0.
Parker Rivera nets a goal towards the end of the first period. Hillers took the 1-0 lead into the third period.
Parker Rivera off the feed from DeCosta. Hillers hoping to hang on. Allison with the extra attacker in Hiller territory. Sent up, rolling towards the empty net, and it is in! The score for the Hillers, and that'll do it. And that is going to be Parker Wynn.
And the Hillers collect their first win of the season, taking down Holliston Ashland by a final of 2-0. Hopkinton improves to 1-3-2 on the season. On Thursday, January 9th, Hiller Alpine Ski hit the slopes for the first time this season, and John Ritz was at the ski ward to capture the action.
Event number 1007, Lorenzo Sada, 45.10. On the blue course number 807, Patrick Meehan from Hopkinton. Time for number 908, Clara Campbell, 29.59. On the red course number 208, Emma Clements from Nipmuc. Time for bid number 507, Zachary Forgetti, 28.74 on the blue question to 307. Alden Pfeiffer from King Philip.
Be sure to catch Hopkinton Hillers Alpine Ski live on Thursdays during the winter season from the Ski Ward in Shrewsbury. On Friday, January 10th, Hiller girls basketball hosted Medway, and it was a tough physical battle. Medway led 27-8 into the second half.
Whitman Cross with the rebound.
No foul, use your body well.
Oh, looking for the long pass to Chatton. Ball knocked loose. Mellinson has it. Knocked away from her. Chatton up and in.
Great heads-up play by Chatton for her first 2 points.
Longval with it. Feeds the wing. Mellinson. Up to Cotilli. Medway, they're going to take their time here. Up for the shot, and in goes Bullard.
The Mustangs ended up taking the win over the Hillers by a final of 47-24. Both teams are now 5-3 on the season. On Saturday, January 11th, it was a Hiller hockey doubleheader. Hopkinton Dover Sherborne Co-op girls hosted Dedham and their annual Stick It to Cancer game.
One of the projects that Girly Girl Parts specifically funds is a project using AI to pick up clues in a woman's medical record which may indicate her susceptibility to develop ovarian cancer. Early detection is the most important indication of positive outcomes for women with ovarian cancer. Thank you to the Hopkinton hockey community as well as the Dedham hockey community for your generosity this afternoon, and thanks again to Marie for continuing to raise awareness. I hope you guys have fun today.
The game was scoreless heading into the third period.
To the near side of Kelly. Kelly looking to approach, and now bringing it around, that's Beeler. Along the corner. Beeler with a shot there, and off the rebound, it is put in for the score! What a shot! Off that rebound. It was Beeler on the first attempt, and then with the follow through, Grace Hennigan. Sent back out by Cotto. And now into the high slot. There's a shot, and Dedham responds. Riley Richardson. Incredible shot. Richardson had off the rebound. There was no stopping that thing. Richardson coming out from the corner, sends it to the net, and she has another one. Riley Richardson with the backhander. It goes off Coito's leg pad and into the net.
Dedham would end up taking the 3-1 win in the TVL battle. The Hillers fall to 3-6-0. Dedham improves to 3-5-0 on the season. In leg 2 of the Saturday Hiller hockey doubleheader, the Hiller boys hosted Norton. The Lancers took the 1-0 lead early in the first period, and that remained the score heading into the third period.
He puts it up to Merkel. Looking to close in, and it's brushed away. Sent out in front, there's a shot, and it's put in! What a score! Well, the Hillers did what they needed to do there. They created pandemonium in front of the net, and it's Matt Pedroli coming up with a score for the Hillers. Moore pops it into Norton territory, and it's popped in! Parker tried to dive on it, could not cover it up, and Ian Tosca able to get it by him to give the Hillers the lead. Back to Merkel, back to Pedroli, across to DaCosta. And the Lancers looking for a breakaway. Here comes Laverdiere. The one-on-one with the goalie, and he pops it in, and we are tied back up. A short-handed goal for the Norton Lancers.
A pair of goals by the Hillers, but Dedham responds. and the game was tied at 2 apiece, forcing a 5-minute overtime period.
Now along the near side. Back to Merkel. Merkel looking to approach. Takes it around, leaves it in front, and it's put in! What a feed to Pajoli. And the Hillers get the game winner in overtime.
1 minute and 46 seconds into overtime, Matt Pajoli takes the feed from Connor Merkel and slips it into the left side of the net on a one-timer to give the Hillers the 3-2 overtime win. Hopkinton improves to 2-3-1 on the season. Norton falls to 3-5. An absolutely terrific win by the young Hiller team. Hopkinton Hillers alumni alert. Congratulations to 2023 HHS alum Kate Powers as she collected wins in her first 2 meets of the season and set a new school record in the women's weight throw at Kentucky University. The record-smashing Kate Powers continues to set new records in the SEC.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into this segment of HCAM Sports Talk. Tom Nappy here. And now I am joined by Andy Barron and Steve Watson. Guys, how are you?
Hey, Tom. Good to see you. What's going on, Steve?
Good, Tom. Good, Andy.
So, Steve, we sent you on assignment to Buffalo this past weekend for the playoff game. How did it go?
It was good. So decided to go out there with my buddies, the Broncos fan from upstate New York. So it just kind of worked out. You know, the Broncos, they put up a good fight, but the Bills are just too good for them.
Steve, you're supposed to go along with it and say, thanks, HCAM, for sending me there.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Definitely
Tom.
going to a Bills playoff game, huh?
How was the weather out there?
It wasn't bad. It was just about 30, cloudy.
Yeah, pretty much the same as here.
Yeah, a few snowflakes pregame, nothing crazy. I think they're getting lake effect snow today. We're recording this Monday, by the way, folks. I think they might get some lake effect today, so we missed that. They're all in all for January in Buffalo, really not bad. 30s and cloudy, I'll take that all day.
The atmosphere must have been quite rowdy for
Oh, absolutely electric. Bills Mafia, as we all know, we've all seen it. Those fans are as passionate as anyone, and not just football and sports. They are so passionate. They want a Super Bowl ring. I think they might get it. Next month. They just might get it.
They deserve it. I think they've been the most tortured fan, maybe in the tortured fan base in the NFL, because they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Let's not forget, and lost all 4 of them. And of course, they've almost been to the Super Bowl a number of times and lost in a harsh way in the postseason. But maybe this is the year the Bills finally break through. They certainly have the talent, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it might be the year that we'll preview their game against the Ravens here in a little bit. But yeah, that's a passionate fan base. Of course, they got a new stadium being built. It's not quite done yet. Most of the skeleton's done. It'll open in 2026. It's gonna be a nice place, and the fans are gonna stay a lot drier when they do have those snowstorms out there. It'll be kind of like Seattle. Seattle has most of the stands covered, the field exposed. It'll be a pretty similar setup.
It was a similar setup. It's still outdoors, obviously.
Yeah.
But this obviously proves the Bills are going nowhere. They're in Buffalo forever.
Exactly. And I'm glad they built the stadium across from the current one, not in downtown Buffalo. Where they play, for folks there who don't know, it's about 12 miles from downtown Buffalo.
Yep. It's in the middle of nowhere, really. Orchard Park is.
Yeah. You hop up the highway, you go a few miles down the road, and it's there. So,
no, that city can never let the Buffalo Bills leave, because all they got besides Bills football is chicken wings and a lot of snow.
Yeah, and I did have some chicken wings this weekend when I was out there. It's mandatory. You have to make a stop.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they must just be the best wings ever, right?
That was the birthplace of the wings. So I had to scoff them down. Went to the Sabres game Saturday while I was out there. So it was a good trip. It was fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks for joining us. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. So the latest Patriots news, they made a new head coach acquisition. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, I want to get you guys' thoughts about the games that took place during NFL Wild Card Weekend, the Saturday and Sunday games, since we're recording this on Monday, obviously. But just any general thoughts, anything that surprised you, stuck out to you, or just anything you want to talk about? Andy, let's start with you.
Very uneventful, to be honest with you. Despite the Washington Tampa Bay game, I really don't think the other games were really that good. Now, the Vikings and the Eagles will play tonight, because we are recording this on Monday. I mean, sorry, the Vikings and Rams will play tonight. That will be interesting because the game is in Arizona due to the horrible wildfires in Los Angeles. It was the right move. They could not play that game in Los Angeles. It was just going to literally be impossible to play there. How about the Texans? I'm the only one that took the Texans, and they dominated the Chargers. Again, the Chargers just coming up.
Congratulations, by the way, on picking the Texans and being.
But look, guys. Here's what I want to say about the
Hey,
Texans.
we got Jared here.
Hey,
What's
Jared.
up, Jared?
What's going on?
Go ahead.
C.J.
Andy.
Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio. That's the three things they have, and they're winning. Note to the Patriots: that's what you need to get back and winning. Okay, I think D'Amico Ryans has elevated himself to a top 10 coach in the league. And C.J. Stroud was very, very impressive. Nico Collins, this guy was unstoppable in the game for the Texans. He really, really had a good game. And Joe Mixon's been a huge addition to them. I said it in the offseason. This Texans team is dangerous, and I think they're starting to come together. Yeah, they got a lot of injuries, but they're very, very impressive. They really dominated the Chargers. Chargers aren't ready yet. They're not ready to take that next step. Bills, of course, with a good win. Ravens with an easy win. I don't think the Eagles looked good. Something's not right with that team. Like, they just did not look good. I thought the Packers actually took a step back this year. And what a win for Washington. Jaden Daniels going down and getting a win over Tampa Bay. A disappointing year for Tampa Bay. They just could never really seem to elevate themselves. And their first playoff win, I think, in 20 years. Wow, what a turnaround that franchise has made. And but they're going to have their hands full with the Lions.
Absolutely. And, the theory I have is that when you're going into the playoffs, it's very difficult if you're not playing good football at the time the postseason arrives. And if teams that were struggling before the playoffs arrive, I mean, the Green Bay Packers, they just had a very bad loss to the Chicago Bears the week before Wild Card Weekend. And they're now eliminated. The one team I would say actually that theory did not work for was Washington, because Washington, they haven't been playing great the last few weeks, but they came into that game against the high-scoring, high-flying Tampa Bay Buccaneers and took them out in Tampa. Very impressive win by Washington. That's probably the team that shocked me the most this past weekend. They kind of came out of nowhere. They just seemed really flat the last few weeks. They were having trouble producing offense. So I was very surprised by Washington getting that win over Tampa. I didn't think they were going to do so, but they proved me wrong, and they're certainly a team that can be very good when they want to be. So look out for Washington. Steve, any general thoughts you want to share about the NFL games Wild Card Weekend?
I was pretty shocked the Chargers just kind of laid an egg against Houston. Houston looked really good. That's what I think a lot of us thought they were capable of, but they hadn't really shown much this year. So I guess that one was surprising. Going to order of the games, the Ravens beating the Steelers, that was not surprising at all. The Steelers have played terrible football. They do not have a long-term solution at quarterback. That's the team that should have blown it up years ago. But they just want to make the playoffs and go above 500, which that's fine. But other teams want to win rings. Denver, Buffalo. I was at that game, of course. Not really surprising. The Buffalo dominated the second half. didn't think they'd be that strong in the second half. But Denver hung in there, kind of playing with house money anyway. So that result was kind of what we thought it'd be. Didn't get to see any of the Eagles-Packers game, was driving back, but it did have it on the radio. Philly, they've done it a lot this year. They win despite not playing their best, and I think that can be dangerous. And their defense is really good, so don't count out Philly. Washington, Tampa. I'm not shocked that Washington won that game. They've been doing this all year. They win close games. They just have a magic about them. They have that finishing touch. They figure it out at the end of the game. And, do I think they'll beat Detroit next weekend? We'll find out in the preview coming up in a little bit. But that I wasn't surprised by. So, you had the 5 games so far. So you had, one real good game, Tampa, Washington. You had some block games like Andy was saying. So, but all in all, not bad. It's a solid weekend of football.
Absolutely. Jared, any general thoughts on this past weekend's NFL wildcard games?
Not surprised by Buffalo at all. Not surprised by Baltimore at all. Those were probably the 2 biggest shoo-ins in terms of picks, in my opinion. I thought the hardest game to pick was the Chargers and the Texans. Obviously, I went the Chargers. I really wanted to go with the Texans. Obviously, went the wrong way. Texans looked really good, as you guys all mentioned. I give DeMeco Ryans a lot of credit.
Funny enough, we all picked the Chargers. Oh, no, besides Andy, who picked
Yeah, I mean, Andy picked the Texans. Well done. Well done. I thought that was the hardest game to pick, though. Steve actually kind of stole my thunder on the Eagles. The Eagles have shown they can win in different ways. When you can still win and not play your best, that's sort of the sign of a dangerous team. Steve talked about the defense. The defense has been immense. If they can get a few things going, I could see them going back to the Super Bowl. If not Detroit, Philly, in my opinion. Let's see. Washington, Tampa. I got some thoughts here. I don't know why. Tampa was in position to win that game. Obviously, Washington actually came in with a better record, 12-5 to Tampa's 10-7. I obviously picked Tampa. I think most of us picked Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tampa obviously has shown they have a really good offense, but I don't know if you're Tampa, why you're running that weird sort of reverse play in that situation where things can go wrong. That was a disaster waiting to happen. Obviously, it's on Mayfield, ball gets on the ground. Washington recovers it, scores, and then Jaden Daniels made a big play, obviously, getting away from that potential tackle for loss. The play to Eckler just made some plays. Really impressed with Washington there, but Tampa was in position to win that game. I don't know how you don't win that game. Again, just don't do anything ridiculous. It's going to, potentially, hinder you from winning that game. And sure enough, they, just like the Penn State game, there was a screw up and obviously they paid the price. So yeah, game tonight should be okay. Really looking forward to Bills Ravens next week. That's it.
All right, fantastic. I guess another game that really surprised me was the Chargers Texans, because not only did the Texans beat the Chargers, they dominated. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. So clearly the Chargers have some changes that they need to make. They certainly had a better season than they did last year, but they got absolutely rolled by Houston this wild card weekend. All right, we will have our round 2 picks in just a bit, but first, let's get to the big news that I know Steve's been waiting all day to talk about. The New England Patriots have a brand new coach, and he goes by the name of Mike Vrabel, former linebacker for the Patriots. And after winning 3 Super Bowls with New England in his playing days, and having a fantastic career in the NFL, he went on to coach a number of places, including Ohio State, Tennessee Titans, and now he's back home to the New England Patriots. Steve, I'll let you start us off with this one. I know you've been saying time and time again that Vrabel's the guy. Vrabel's the guy. So how are you feeling right now?
A grand slam hire, and this hire brings instant credibility back to the Patriots. It's not going to be easy. It's not a quick fix. It's going to be a process. This is who they should have hired last year. They didn't. Obviously, we all know how that worked out. Grand slam hire, though, couldn't be more excited. So this all happened yesterday, Sunday morning. I was in line with members of Bill's Mafia to get to the Jolly Johns. My phone started blowing up with the news. So I'm like, yes. So great news. So there's a lot of work to do in Foxborough, but I think this is going to get the franchise going back in the right direction because they've been going in the wrong direction for at least a couple of years now. And, especially in the past year, really accelerated towards a path of destruction. But now you have a competent coach. I think someone who knows what it takes to win here, someone who knows how to build a culture. Grand slam hire is the obvious choice. They got it right. They got it right by doing what they did last week, and they got it right by doing what they did in hiring Mike Vrabel. So grand slam hire. Patriots will be back. Maybe not this upcoming year, but they will be back. Mark my word, they will.
All right. Andy, what are your thoughts on the Vrabel hiring?
Well, I'm not surprised. I think, I mean, I had some mixed feelings about it. I kind of wanted them to go out of the organization, but it clearly seems like that this was the guy they wanted. And like I said, like I told you all yesterday, I'm going to give him a chance. I know things didn't end well for him in Tennessee, but I know there were other circumstances that happened there. He's got a lot of experience. I liked his press conference. I liked what he had to say. I think you clearly know that he is in charge, that there's no second guessing the coach. I just want to see this team be respectable again. I think he even is honestly has realistic expectations. This team is still not a playoff team the way they're constructed now, but it doesn't mean that they can't be exciting. They can't be fun to watch. That's what we want to see. Look, guys, they're not on Baltimore's level. They're not on Buffalo's level. I think we all agree with that, right? I don't even think they're on the Broncos level. But let's just see how they can move forward. That is the key. Let's see who he brings in. Is Elliott Wolf going to stick around? I mean, that's the only thing that kind of concerns me a little bit. Like, how much say does he really have? But it is a good hire, and he's going to get more than 1 year unless he does something real bad. Like, I'm talking really, really bad. He's going to be here for probably a few years at least. But even if this team goes like 6-11 or even 7-9, I think we can all live with that compared to how bad it has been these last few years, as Steve pointed out too. But certainly looking forward to see what they're going to do in the offseason. Now they need to get ready for the draft. You already have the quarterback. Now it's time to get ready for the draft.
Absolutely.
And free agency.
Yes. And about your comment earlier, I think the Pats right now, they're on the Jets level essentially. So that's what level they're at. It's not good. But hopefully this will bring them above that level. I guess the good thing to come out of last year, if there is any, is Drake May. You got your quarterback. I think that's a really good thing because if you remember them going into the offseason last year, they didn't have their quarterback yet. They didn't have anything. At least now you got, essentially the main guy on the team, the quarterback. You got him in place. So they need to bring in some good coaches to help develop Drake May. Because I really think Drake May has huge potential, and I think he is the guy.
He could be a guy for the next 10 years. Could be a guy for the next 10 years. I mean,
yes. Jared, what are your thoughts on the Vrabel hire?
Massive hire. I think he's going to bring, like Steve said, instant credibility. This team is going to be tough. It's going to be physical. Again, might not be exactly this year, but Vrabel's teams are always tough, physical. He'll try to maximize any talent on this team. Obviously, we need to bring in some more talent. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, I wanted Vrabel or Ben Johnson. I mean, Ben Johnson is probably the most sought after coach right now, and it's pretty easy to see why. The guy is brilliant. But again, yeah, I mean, I think this is just massive. Like Steve said, I completely agree. This should have been the hire last year. And it wasn't, and we paid the price for it under a crappy coach. Um, I think, and again, I mean, you guys have all touched on the right points. I mean, again, I think the key now is to focus on the draft. I think the draft is massive this year. Sure, we got screwed over by winning that last game of the season, because having the number one pick, I mean, obviously we can still get a really good player at 4 if we don't trade it, but having the number one pick is just massive for so many reasons. Obviously, you can take whoever you want if you pick there, but it's also such massive trade bait, to use in any sort of trades. People want that number one pick if they really desire it. So, I think I'm curious to see what direction we go in the draft. I hope we do pick at 4 and not trade. I mean, again, I would go some sort of receiver or offensive line. I'm probably leaning towards offensive line right now because you have to protect Drake May. And there are some good offensive linemen in this draft. So I'll be curious to see what happens. Free agency is obviously going to be massive, as Andy said. But yeah, no, love the hire. Again, just curious to see how things kind of go out moving forward this year and the next couple of years.
Will Campbell from LSU. I mean that guy is just a game-changing player. You line him up against David Andrews, and if Cole Strange can get healthy again, now you might be putting some pieces together. It starts up front. The Patriots offensive line was just bulldozed all season long.
Yeah.
You have to get somebody up front.
Again, I've always been of the mindset that we need to bring in, some sort of receiver for Drake to throw to. I mean, obviously our receivers this year were not great. But again, I mean, as it's been talked about more and kind of the more we realize it, again, I think offensive line has to be the play. You can't let your franchise quarterback keep getting absolutely shellacked every game.
Yeah, he got bruised and battered last year. You certainly need offensive line. I think offensive line is the most important thing because you got to protect your guy. Receivers, it is a close second. They do need receivers for sure, but most importantly, without Drake May, you don't have nothing. So you really need to protect them. You need to get that offensive line. Now, what thought I had, a lot of people mentioned they don't want to trade that 4th pick. Well, what if they did and they brought in, an all-star offensive lineman, a veteran who has experience, and then, they still got a couple of good draft picks, maybe even a later first-round pick. What if they use that pick to bring in experienced talent that has, been battle tested and proved themselves already? Would you guys be open to that?
Yes. Yeah, that's how they got Randy Moss here. They did it on draft day. So I mean, look, this team needs a lot of things, guys. I think it's very evident what they need. Receiver is a huge thing, but they don't draft well wide receiver. They just don't. They haven't.
Let's trade the 4th pick to the Bengals. Go see if we can get Jamar Chase.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be very nice. But I do think that they'll hold on to Pop Douglas and Kayshon Boutte because I think there is potential there. And I know I mentioned that last week in the show, but not all is lost. I think you do have a couple of things to work for, but you need that number one guy who really, like a Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson. That's what or Cooper Kupp or somebody like that. That's what this team is lacking severely, and they desperately need that.
Absolutely. And we'll be talking a lot about what they need, who they should get, what they're doing as the draft gets closer and as free agency gets closer as well. But my thoughts on the Vrabel situation, very happy. I think he's a good coach. I think he proved himself in Tennessee. He was working with a very lackluster kind of roster, not a whole lot of talent on it. There was a couple of great names on it, but I mean, Tannehill was his quarterback, and he made Tannehill look better than Tannehill's ever looked before. And obviously, that goes to also say a lot about the offensive coordinator they had over there, I'm sure. But he brought those Tennessee teams further than they probably should have went with the lack of talent on their roster. So I do think Vrabel has potential. I'm happy with the hire. And he seems like a guy that can get along with the players, and he could certainly relate to them as he was one himself. But he also seems like a guy that you're not going to be able to horse around. You're not, and I don't mean that like you're not going to be able to have fun. I mean, you're not going to be able to, do things you shouldn't, essentially. He will call you out, he will bench you. I never got that feeling with Mayo. I don't think Mayo could put the hammer down when it needed to be put down. I think that was part of the problem. Vrabel, he's been around the block. He has had, pretty much every experience you could think of. So I like the hire. I think it's a good hire. Hopefully, he'll bring in the right coordinators that will help develop Drake May, help develop this offensive line and some of these younger receivers they got. Josh McDaniels is a name that has floated out there for offensive coordinator. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. Not a good head coach, but wouldn't mind seeing him back as the OC. I don't want him to bring back, all the Belichick pieces by any means at all. You do need change. You need new, you need new guys in here. You need new thought, new mentality, and preferably, deferring opinions on a lot of things as well. Guys that, are experienced and that you have faith in, but will challenge you. I don't want everything Vrabel says it's his way. I think, I'd like to see coordinators in here that will challenge Vrabel and, maybe adjust, his thought process on certain things and vice versa. So hopefully we'll have a good meeting of the minds in the group of coaches for New England, because I think the problem with Belichick, especially in the last few years, is you had a bunch of yes men around him. There was no one that would really challenge him, and I think that was an issue. So I'm hoping the Pats don't fall into that same situation with Vrabel. I'd imagine they won't, but we'll have to wait and see who they bring in. Should be very interesting offseason, and it's certainly a much more exciting one than last year was. I'd say there's a lot more positivity this offseason than what they did last year, they had to let Belichick go, but then what they replaced him with was just a travesty and just did not work at all. So as long as Vrabel doesn't pull any crazy moves like bringing Matt Patricia in as the offensive coordinator, I think we'll be all right. Had to get that in there, Steve.
I knew you guys take that in there.
Yeah, he was going to. I mean, that was the biggest shoe into the night right there. Is Tom mentioning that?
Yes.
Holy smokes! I got one thing real quick though. You guys talked about in the group chat yesterday about Robert Saleh coming in potentially for defensive coordinator. I think that would be massive.
Yes.
I mean, again, say what you want about him as a head coach. The guy knows how to flat out coach defense. He proved that in San Francisco. If you could bring him in along with, I mean, there's a few guys I think I would take as OC, McDaniels being one of them. But I think if you can get a legit OC, whether that's McDaniels or somebody else, and bring in Robert Saleh to coach the defense, I think you're in real good shape. That would be massive. Also on the receiver front, you're not going to get Jamar Chase, but if you can get T. Higgins, that would be also just absolutely massive. I mean, the guy's a baller, absolute baller.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not going to get Chase, but my point is, you might be able to go get some experienced veterans rather than relying on the draft for some of these guys, especially for an offensive lineman. Maybe you want someone more experienced. And plus, also, who's going to be available in the free agent market? Perhaps.
No, I hear you. In terms of a trade, though, if you're going to trade for an offensive lineman, I'd be curious to see who the trade partner could be there. Who would be willing to part with a top-tier offensive lineman to try to swing for a trade there. Yeah, I mean, that's my issue there.
Find a team with a crummy quarterback. Maybe they won't care. And my comment about Ben Johnson. So I think Ben Johnson is a good coach. He has done a great job with that Detroit offense. But the one thing that concerned me about him, look at the talent he gets to work with in Detroit. I mean, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs. The list goes on and on. So I think there's a little bit of letdown potential with Ben Johnson. And this is a completely different built offense, if you even want to call it an offense, than Detroit is, being that this is going to be a much younger offense and a much less experienced offense. So would Ben Johnson still be as good in that situation? Perhaps he would. I don't know. I guess we'll see when he becomes the head coach somewhere else. But that was one thing that concerned me with him. And plus, he's a young coach, and younger guys, especially a younger team like the Patriots, there's potential where the younger guys, they'll walk all over you if you're a younger guy. You know what I'm saying? I think bringing in an experienced guy to work with the younger guys, or a more experienced guy, I should say, to work with the younger guys might have a little more benefit because, they brought in a first-time head coach with Mayo, who's a little bit younger, and it didn't go so well. So I like that they went the experience route, I would say. And I think Vrabel really wanted to come here too. I'm sure he probably called Kraft and sent his resume immediately as soon as that job opened up. But it's going to be a very interesting offseason to say the least. But we do need to get to our picks that we are going to make for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. So let's start off with the Saturday games, the games that will take place Saturday, January 18th. At 4:30 p.m., we got our first divisional round game. We got the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, is anyone going to choose Houston?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not taking Kansas City here.
All right, we're going around the table. Jared, start us off.
I'm going Houston here. I think Kansas City can be vulnerable in this situation. This isn't the same Kansas City team. Mahomes has been banged up a bit. Again, I know they often just find ways to get it done in the playoffs, and there's a reason why they've obviously won the Super Bowl the last couple of years. But again, this is a different team. The Texans are hot right now, coming off a big win. I think they can keep that going. I like the Texans here.
All right, Texans for Jared. Andy, who do you got?
Boy, I tell you, I'm very tempted to take the Texans, but I just can't.
Do it.
I just can't. I can't do it.
Gary.
Look, as much as everybody just can't stand the Chiefs, and I'm in that boat too. They're just going to figure it out. They're going to get a win. I just don't think the Texans are ready for this moment yet. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think it's going to be a good game. I think they will give the Chiefs some issues, but at the end of the day, they got Mahomes, and they're just going to be able to, and Kelsey, and they're going to be able to squeak it out. That's just the way they do it. They win.
Yep, absolutely. They know how to win in the playoffs. That's for sure.
I'm going with the Chiefs.
Every fiber of my being is rooting for Houston in this game. Me, like pretty much everyone except the fine folks in Missouri, want to see the Chiefs get knocked out. I'm sick of this Chiefs Super Bowl run. I want to see them get knocked out by someone other than that, by another quarterback not named Tom Brady, since Brady's retired. So I am rooting for Houston, but like Andy, the Chiefs know how to win in the playoffs. They just do. I think this is going to be a close game, though. If Houston plays like they did last week, it's going to be a really close game, and it'll certainly have upset potential. But I can't go against Mahomes until he finally loses a playoff game, I don't think. So give me the Chiefs in this one. Steve, who do you got?
I'm going to go with Houston here. So the Chiefs, by the time this game is played on Saturday, their starters will have gone 25 days between starts. That's a long time. That's a long layoff. That can be a lot of rust. The fact that they absolutely mailed it in against the Broncos week 18, I get why they did it. They didn't want the Bengals to get in because they were dangerous. I get that. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Karma is you-know-what. And that's just a long layoff. And, to mail in a game in the meantime, I don't think I don't love that part of it for them. And this version of this team, they just wait for opponents to screw up. They don't really do anything to win the games. Their opponents lose the games. It seems like the Bills go and make stuff happen.
No,
The
the
Ravens,
refs
they go and
would
make
have.
stuff
Yeah,
happen.
the refs
So,
would have.
yes, they know how to win, but they win by their opponents just doing stupid stuff and screwing it up.
Fully
If it
agree.
comes down to a situation where the Chiefs have to make a play or a few plays to win the game, I don't think that this version of this team can do it. And even if they do beat Houston Saturday, they're not getting past Baltimore. They're not getting past Buffalo. Both those teams are far better than Kansas City. So either they're going to lose to Houston, like I think they will, or they'll lose next week. But Texans in this one.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more
I
with
think I'm
with
gonna
all
have
that.
to go look in the episodes from last year because I'm pretty sure you said something similar about the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean,
I probably did, but hey, that's last year. This is this year.
right. And hey, the Chiefs, yeah, they had a lot of days off, but they've done that before. They know what they're doing. I'm hoping Houston wins. This is a pick I absolutely want to get wrong. So go Houston, but I'm picking Chiefs. All right, our 8 o'clock game Saturday night. Very interesting game. Washington at Detroit. Yeah, as much as I like Washington and respect the season that they have had, no way I could go against Detroit. They're just on another planet right now, and I think the Lions are just going to be too much to handle for Washington. Andy, who do you got?
Totally agree, Tom. That the place is going to be a frenzy in Detroit on Saturday night. Washington's been a nice story. They're definitely going to be in for the long haul with Jaden Daniels, but this is just a terrible matchup. They're going into a buzzsaw, and I believe this is the first time that these two teams have met in the postseason since 1991 NFC Championship game, and when Washington did win 42-10, but two totally different teams. It just I would be really surprised if this game might be close early, but the Lions are too good. They're just gonna. I think it's gonna be very similar to the Buffalo Denver game.
All right, Jared.
Detroit. That's it. Detroit. Detroit by 2 touchdowns at least.
All right, Steve.
This is an intriguing matchup. You have Detroit against potentially the next Detroit. A team that's been down for years. Some problems up top with ownership, all that stuff. Blow through coaches like crazy, down the dumps. But then they find the right coach, and then they find a quarterback. Detroit's been in contention for a few years now. They've been on a good streak. Washington, they got some good pieces this offseason, and now they're right there. So to segue back to the Patriots for a second, this is what you aspire to become. These two teams, this track, build that culture, get the right coach, quarterback, all that, and you can become one of these teams. I think Washington keeps it close early. I think Detroit is better. I think they'll pull it out. I think it'll be a little closer than some folks think, though.
All right, Lions across the board. Moving on to the Sunday games, you're going to have to get our pick for the Rams or Vikings at Philly on the HCAM website. Let's go to the nighttime game. We got Baltimore at Buffalo. Oh, this is going to be quite a game. I would pound the over for sure. I think this is going to be very high scoring. I mean, you're going to Buffalo. I don't know. Baltimore, they haven't been very good on the road in the playoffs. So I think Buffalo is on another level right now. They really impressed me in that game against the Broncos. I mean, Denver came out and had an amazing first drive, scored a touchdown right off the bat, and they didn't score the rest of the game. So that was pretty impressive. I got to go Buffalo here. I just think they're clicking on all cylinders right now, but I expect a very close game. I do think Baltimore is going to battle, and I think this is going to be a tough physical game and probably a game with a lot of scoring as well. Jared, who do you got?
I was hoping you wouldn't go to me next. I think this is by far the hardest game to pick of the weekend, no matter what the matchups
All right.
are.
You want me to wait?
No. I'm going to go Buffalo. I think Buffalo is, a buzzsaw. And Buffalo is clicking on all cylinders. They are really, really, really hard to beat. I mean, obviously their defense has shown that they can play at a high level, holding the Broncos to 7 points and throughout the year. Josh Allen you can't say enough about the guy. He's tremendous. They have the run game. It's a tough place to play. Buffalo. Go Bills.
All right. Andy.
Going with Buffalo, and it's gonna be a good game. The Ravens are a really good team, but I'm wondering if Lamar Jackson is a little banged up. Looked like he got banged up in that Pittsburgh game.
Yes, good point.
This is a really tough spot for the Ravens. I mean, going into Buffalo, and I know they beat them earlier this year, but it was in Baltimore. Derrick Henry has to have a big game. There's just no question about it. But yeah, the Bills are clicking right now. This will be a massive loss if they lose this game. I mean, if you're the Bills, you really got it all lined up for you right now, and it's gonna be a close game, but I do think the Bills are gonna squeak it out.
All right, Steve.
This is definitely the best game of the weekend. I think whoever wins goes to Super Bowl. I think they're both better than KC and Houston. You have quarterbacks who can make stuff happen. They can both run too. You got running backs who can run, good run games in general. You got receivers on both sides who can make stuff happen. Defense, special teams, coaching. You go down both resumes, they check all the boxes. You know, when I saw the Bills yesterday, they remind me a lot of the 2014 through 18 pass, just that super efficient offense. And even though they only scored 10 the first half, they still scored over 30 for the game. And just absolutely dominant. Can keep moving the ball. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to, late game decision. Maybe Baltimore does tend to be aggressive a bit too often. Buffalo, I think, plays it a bit smarter in that sense when it's called for. It's going to be a raucous environment out there. Sunday night game. You have a Monday holiday. Folks don't need to worry about being at school or work the next day. So I'm going to take the Bills. And I'll make a bold prediction now. I think the Bills will win the Super Bowl.
All right. I got
I like it. I like it a lot.
Detroit Super Bowl. How fun would that be?
Oh, Buffalo Detroit Super Bowl. Someone has to win.
Sign me up.
It'd be amazing.
I'm all over that. Yeah, sign me up for that every year. That's
well
tremendous.
I'd like the Pats to even get back there at some point, but yeah.
A Buffalo Detroit Super Bowl would be epic.
That would be amazing. And it would be great for the NFL because you take two of the most committed fan bases, and two of the probably the best fan bases in the game, and you put them in the Super Bowl. None of them have won in a very, very, very long time. I don't think Buffalo's ever won one.
They've been to 4 Super Bowls and have lost all. They would go to 5. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls, which is off the charts.
Did the Lions ever win one? I don't think the Lions ever won either.
No.
The Lions have not. I don't think they've won since the 1957 NFL Championship, which is just.
Yeah, right, which is the Lions haven't even been to the Super Bowl.
Never been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That'd be great for the NFL.
I grew up a Bills fan, actually, if I'm being completely honest with you, from my early years. And the amount of times that I watched them lose to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, ridiculous. I mean, I loved Jim Kelly, I loved Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and to see them consistently lose to Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin made me vomit.
Yeah,
that was brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Those Dallas teams were just a juggernaut.
I mean, yeah, it was sick to watch. It was gross.
All right. Well, there it is. Our picks for the divisional weekend. And just like that, we are out of time. But we do have a few minutes for final thoughts. Andy, any final thoughts?
Well, of course, just everything that's going on in California right now, in Southern California, it's really sad just to see just so many people losing their homes and lives, and just it's really just it's really surreal seeing all the pictures coming out of Southern California. It really is.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah. Just terrible situation over there. And, hopefully they can do things in the future to make sure this never happens again, because it's quite awful. All right. Jared, any final thoughts?
I mean, Andy stole my thunder. I know a ton of people out there. My sister lives out there. My sister had to evacuate. She was in pretty good shape until a fire started pretty close to her place. So her husband, and my 2 nephews all bailed to my sister's husband's aunt's house south of LA. But I have a couple of cousins that live out there. I got some friends that live out there. Um, yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. All the talk about kind of how it started and stuff, or how they all started. I've heard talk of arsonists. I've heard, two kids playing with a lighter and whatever. I've heard, obviously the winds, which can cause it, a la forest fires. I mean, they have crazy Santa Ana winds out there, 100 miles an hour. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's insane. Just continually seeing pictures and video and whatever else on Twitter is outrageous. I feel for everybody out there. It's definitely one of the most insane things that's happened recently in our country, I would say. And yeah, on a better note, I'm really looking forward to next week's playoff games. I think Buffalo, Baltimore is going to be fantastic. And I think we're all going to be looking forward to that. So yeah, just curious to see how that goes. And hopefully the Bruins can start winning a few games.
All right, Steve, any final thoughts?
Yeah, situation in Southern Cal is obviously insane how it even has happened. You can't even fathom it. It'll be intriguing to see how the Rams respond. They've kind of shifted their whole operation, over to Glendale,
Arizona.
for this week. And, it takes a lot of people to get that to happen. A lot of hard work by the Cardinals and by the league and whoever else. So, it'll be intriguing to see how it unfolds against the Vikings. Going back to the Patriots, though, Vrabel hire, absolutely great hire. That's a coach who could be here for a long time. And I think we can all wear our Patriot gear with pride now. For the past year, it was.
I'm going to wear my Vrabel jersey to games next year.
It was laughing stock. Even, talking with people out on the road this weekend, like we went from gold standard to laughing stock pretty quickly. And, this is going to reverse that trajectory that we were on. We were going downward, going straight downward. Now we're going to be going back up. So it's a great day for the Patriots. It's going to take time, folks, but we'll get back there. We will. We'll get back there. Couldn't be more excited. Just a grand slam hire. One that leaves you very happy as a fan.
You better hope so, because if the Pats are horrible, I'm going to take this clip and replay it like every show. I agree. I think they're going to be much better off. That's for sure. But yeah, you guys all mentioned the situation in California, really terrible. I'd encourage, if you can, donate to the American Red Cross, because they're going to need to purchase a lot of resources to help the people down there. So if you could afford to help out, the Red Cross could certainly use it. But Hiller Sports, very busy week coming up. So be sure to check out the Hiller Sports broadcast schedule at our website, hcam.tv. And we didn't have time to talk about the NCAA championship this week, but we will have our picks posted to the website. And also, that's next week. So maybe we'll have that for you next week on the show as well. But in any case, it was a fun one. Great to have all you guys back on the show for the first time of 2025. And for Andy Barron, Steve Watson, and Jared Keene, I'm Tom Nappy, and we thank you for watching HCAM Sports Talk. Take care and be well.